Welcome to History at Home, bringing the museum to you. I'm Sarah Byers, Assistant Curator with the Niagara Falls Museums, speaking to you today about the observation towers at Lundy's Lane. Between the early 1820s and the end of the American Civil War in 1865, War of 1812 battlefields were a popular tourist attraction. Of these, the most popular was the site of the Battle of Lundy's Lane. Because both sides claimed victory in this battle, the site attracted Canadians, British, and American tourists alike. Visitors would be given tours of the battleground by a veteran of the battle, and could view the battlefield from the gallery of the second Drummond Hill Presbyterian Church, which was built in 1836 at the southeast corner of Drummond Road and Lundy's Lane. Drummond Hill was the highest ground in the area, and the view which could be obtained was magnificent, inspiring a series of 5 observation towers on Lundy's Lane. Known as the Anderson Tower, the first observatory was built around 1845 by a veteran of the Battle of Lundy's Lane, Captain Charles Anderson. Located on the north side of Lundy's Lane, on a lot northeast of the present Drummond Hill Church, this tower was a crude wooden structure which lacked a foundation. It consisted of 4 logs placed in the sand, which tapered to a height of about 40 feet. The outside of the tower was covered with a wooden latticework, offering some protection for the visitors who ascended and descended the stairs located within. The posts of the tower soon began to decay, however, and the observatory collapsed during winter storm. It was never rebuilt. The second observatory, the Mackenzie Tower, was erected by Donald Mackenzie on his property in 1846. Located just west of Drummond Hill Church, it was the only one of the 5 observatories to be located on the south side of Lundy's Lane. Rising to a height of 80 feet, the tower had a sturdy stone foundation, and its bottom 2 stories were covered with clapboard. The observatory contained a flight of stairs and was covered by latticework where the clapboard ended. The tower had 3 observation platforms with protective railings, where a telescope was located to supply distant views of the surrounding countryside. On the ground floor, souvenirs such as beadwork, bullets found on the site of the battle, stone specimens, bows and arrows, and canes were sold. There was a 25-cent charge for tourists visiting the tower, but it was free to local residents and school children. In 1851, Mackenzie enlarged and renovated his observatory, which was operating very successfully. Unfortunately, the tower was destroyed in a spectacular fire on July 4, 1851. Some suggested the fire was deliberately set. No photographs of the first 2 observation towers are known to exist. This observatory, also known as Scott's Tower, was constructed by Adam Frailer in about 1850, almost opposite the Drummond Hill Church. Like the Mackenzie Observatory, the Frailer Tower was a wooden structure covered with latticework, built on top of a 2-story building. The tower remained in operation for many years, but it ultimately collapsed during a storm. Eventually, the property was transferred to the city of Niagara Falls by Ruth Redmond. The 4th observatory was built prior to 1855, located near the northeast corner of Lundy's Lane and Drummond Road. It was constructed by Mr. Davis and later run by Mr. Durham, as a consequence of which the tower is referred to as both the Davis and Durham Observatory. It was built on top of a 2-story red brick building, whose second floor was used by lodges for meetings. As the 4th observatory was located on lower land than the previous towers, it surpassed them all in height. This observatory was used by area residents to glimpse the Battle of Ridgeway during the Fenian raids in 1866. In 1869 or 1870, several pieces of the observatory were blown down during a fierce storm. The tower was dismantled in 1870 by its competitor. The Frailer Tower stood for many years after the closure of the 4th observatory. In 1893, a group of local citizens formed the Lundy's Lane Observatory Company and erected a steel tower on the former site of the Frailer Tower. The construction of the 102-foot steel tower, the first such tower in Canada, was financed by selling $10,000 worth of shares to local citizens. The base of the observatory was a 50-foot square 2-story building, and the girders of the tower were not simply anchored to the roof, but passed through the actual building. Part of the building was to be used as a museum and a storehouse for relics from the Lundy's Lane battlefield. The tower had a steam-operated elevator which took visitors to platforms located 3/4 of the way up the tower and at its summit. Although the steel tower was widely publicized, it failed to attract significant numbers of tourists, and the observatory was forced to close within 6 years of its construction. Thank you for joining this History at Home. I'm Sarah Byers.